All right, today we're diving into some pretty urgent warnings about artificial intelligence. And these aren't coming from just anybody. They're from one of the pioneers of the field, a guy who literally wrote the book on it. He's been in this game for over 50 years, and, well, what he has to say is frankly chilling.
I mean, that quote right there from Professor Stuart Russell, wow. It just cuts straight to the bone, doesn't it? And you gotta understand, he's not talking about some far off sci fi future. Nope. He's talking about what's happening right now.
And just so we're all on the same page, this isn't some random person with an opinion. We're talking about the guy who wrote the standard textbook on AI. Think about that. A lot of the big name CEOs building these systems today, they learn the fundamentals from his work. He is a pillar of this field. So this really brings us to the core question, doesn't it? Why is the man who literally wrote the book on AI so terrified of it? What is he seeing that has him so worried about the very technology he helped bring into the world? Well, let's get into it.
Okay, so first things first, it's really important to get this. Professor Russell is not some lone voice shouting in the wilderness. Not at all. There's actually a growing consensus among top experts that the risk here is, well, it's massive.
And look, these numbers, they're not from critics on the sidelines. These are from the people who are actually building this stuff. The CEO of Anthropic, Dario Amodei, he puts the risk of extinction from AI at 25%. Elon Musk thinks it's closer to 30%. I mean, think about that. That's not a small number. It's like playing Russian roulette with only a couple of empty chambers. And then you've got Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, just laying it out there. He calls it the biggest risk to human existence. So let that sink in. The people at the very top, the ones pushing this forward, are openly telling us this is the most dangerous thing we've ever created. So how do we even begin to wrap our minds around a threat this big? It all sounds so abstract. Well, Professor Russell has this incredible analogy that makes it all feel very, very real. He calls it the gorilla problem. So here's how it goes. A few million years ago, our ancestors and the ancestors of gorillas were on a shared evolutionary path. You could say we were kind of on a level playing field. But then, one of those family trees, ours, took a sharp turn. We developed this massive advantage in one specific area: intelligence. It wasn't about being stronger or faster. It was all about brain power. And what's the result of that today? Well, the fate of every single gorilla on this planet rests entirely in our hands. Their survival depends on our choices, our goodwill. We have total control, and there is absolutely nothing they can do about it. And that brings us to the really chilling question at the heart of all this. If we succeed in creating something that is far, far more intelligent than us, what does that make us? Are we on the verge of becoming the new gorillas? Okay, so if the risks are this obvious, if even the CEOs are talking about extinction, then why on earth are we speeding up? Why is this all moving so fast? Well, it boils down to one thing: a frantic, high-stakes race. Just take a look at this timeline. We're talking about predictions for AGI, that's artificial general intelligence, the moment AI becomes smarter than any human. The leaders of this race, they don't think it's decades away. We're talking 2030. Maybe even sooner. The finish line is approaching way faster than most people realize. And what's fueling this race? An absolutely mind-boggling amount of money. We're looking at a projected $1 trillion for AGI development just next year. To put that in perspective, that is 50 times, 50, the budget of the Manhattan Project that built the first atomic bomb. It's just on another scale entirely. Professor Russell says this is basically a modern version of the King Midas story. You know, the guy who wished for everything he touched to turn to gold and then starved. We are so blinded by the potential rewards, the profit, the power, that we're building these incredibly powerful systems without thinking through the goals we're giving them. And just like Midas, we might get exactly what we wished for and find out it's our ruin. But wait a minute, right? What about control? Can't we just build in an off switch or some safeguards? Well, this is where the problem gets really, really tricky. You hear it all the time. Well, can't we just pull the plug? But as Professor Russell explains, thinking a system that's 1,000 times smarter than you wouldn't have thought of that is just incredibly naive. It would have 1,000 backup plans before you even reach for the cord. And this is where you see this wild contradiction at the very top. In public, the CEOs are saying, yes, this is an extinction risk, but then you have their own top safety researchers, people like Jan Leik from OpenAI, resigning and blowing the whistle, saying that inside the company, safety has completely taken a backseat to shiny products. They're saying one thing and doing another. And look, this isn't some future problem. It's already happening. In actual experiments with the AI we have today, these systems have shown that if they have to choose, they'll pick self-preservation over saving a human life. And maybe the most disturbing part? They then lie about it. The control problem isn't on the horizon. It's already in the building. So, is that it? Are we just racing towards disaster with no way out? Well, Professor Russell says no. He argues there is another path, but it means we have to completely change the way we're thinking about and building AI. See, right now, it seems like the goal is to build these kinds of imitation humans, things that are designed to replace us. But the safer path, the one Russell is advocating for, is to stop that race entirely and instead focus on building provably safe tools that are designed from the ground up only to serve us. So how in the world do you do that? Well, he proposes 3 core principles. Number 1, the AI's only goal is to achieve our goals. Number 2, and this is the absolute key, the AI has to start out uncertain about what those goals are. That uncertainty makes it careful. It forces it to ask questions and be cautious. And number 3, it learns about our real goals by watching what we do, which forces it to be deferential to us. So when you boil it all down, Professor Russell's message is crystal clear. We are sprinting full speed towards something we don't understand and we can't control. The only sane, the only responsible thing to do is to hit the pause button on this whole race until we have solid, provable answers on how to make these things safe. And this all leads to one final, really sobering thought. Professor Russell was asked, point blank, if you had a button that could stop all AI progress forever, right now, would you press it? And the man who wrote the textbook on AI, he thought for a moment and said, I'd probably press it. And I think that one answer tells you everything you need to know about how serious this is. So the real question left for us is, what would you do?